Hello and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show. My name is Jim Landers, and I'm bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show where we talk about the business side of photography. Lens Legends, I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're making this effort to become a better photographer, a better person, a better everything it is that you find value in. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab. And I'll put that on the screen. There we go. Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her amazing, wonderful team are there doing the work behind the scenes that make you look like a hero. Now, if you haven't printed your work yet, there's a totally different feel you've never experienced before. Go straight to the best. Go to digitalprolab.com. If you've not experienced Digital Pro Lab, you are going to want to experience Digital Pro Lab. Amanda has put together a wonderful group of people who love doing what they do, and they make you look like a hero. Digital Pro Lab at digitalprolab.com. And of course, for Landers Photography School, that's my company. Landers Photography School does both the photography side and the business side. Now, I spend more time on the business side lately, but I've got both classes. In fact, I've written over 250 different classes. Chances are I've got something that would benefit you. Reach out to me, Jim, at landersphotoschool.com, or I can put up this URL here that you can use to go straight to my calendar and get a free private session. Now, it's not very long, 15 minutes, but it's a private session. It's going to be about you and what you do and what your goals are. Reach out to me. I am happy to help. And we all need help, don't we? I want to ask you to do something. I want to encourage you to make comments and ask questions as we're going through this discussion. Right now, I want you to go and comment #live, so that we know you're watching us today on either Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn. We're simulcast to 4 different platforms and 7 different pages. So for those watching the replay, please comment #replay. I also ask that you do one more thing. Click that share button. Let other people know that the Portrait Profit Show exists. Let others know, because this is beneficial. When we lift everyone up, everyone becomes better. Everyone is in a better position. I want to welcome you to our discussion panel on how networking and alliances fuel success. Today, we're exploring how relationships drive success in portrait photography. While creating beautiful images is important, the photographers who truly thrive are those who excel at building connections and strategic partnerships. Our expert panelists will share their journeys and practical strategies for networking effectively, from overcoming introversion to maintaining valuable relationships and creating powerful business alliances. They're going to reveal how single connections have transformed their businesses, which partnerships have yielded the best results, and exactly how you can start building your network right away, starting today. Whether you're looking to attract more consistent clients, expand your reach through strategic alliances, or simply build a stronger reputation, this conversation today will provide actionable insights that you can implement today. They're here. Our panelists are here because they believe in uplifting the portrait photographer community. So get ready to take notes, get ready to be inspired, and help me welcome our panelists by going to the comment section and typing in a quick thank you message to our generous panelists. I'm going to bring them on and introduce them both to you today. We have, and let me bring those. There we go. Madeline Nario is coming on. Let's bring her here. There we go. And Nate Calt. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you.
Doing fabulous. Glad to be here.
Yay. Oh, you know what? I've got something right in front of your face. I'm going to fix that right now. There we go. Now I can see all of Nate. Ah, man, I'm so glad that you guys are taking the time. You guys are busy. I know this. Um, it's because you care about other people that you're taking the time to do this. You obviously put other people and helping them out on a high place in as far as what you feel is important. So I want to thank you for being here today and being willing to share your thoughts, your insights, maybe even some secrets. We'll see what we can get out of you. But thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
I'm going to give each one of you an opportunity to share a little bit about who you are, just a moment to introduce yourselves. I'll do that one at a time. So I'm going to start off with Madeline, and Nate, I'll come right back to you. All right. So, Madeline, thank you for
So
being here.
yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Of
So
course.
real quick, I'm the CEO of Mad Media, and what we do is we basically produce TikToks and Reels for small businesses in San Antonio. So mostly contractors. We do have professionals like realtors, doctors, and lawyers. And then I am the CEO of an app that was just launched this year called Pair. And what that does is it connects business professionals with consumers like Angie's List, but in more of a dating app setting. So people can swipe right to connect with the contractor that they need, or swipe left if they don't like what they see, and don't want to connect with that contractor. And so right now that one is free, so that we can kind of just see how it works, and then and that's about it.
Well, that is what you're doing is fantastic, helping small businesses, and this new app. I went to your networking event that you shared this at, and so I do know something about it. Nate was there too, and so it sounds like a great program, and I think it's just going to take the nation by storm in
That's what we're
just
hoping.
a few months. I mean, it's like how could it not? It's just a great concept. It makes sense, and it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forgot, yes, we do have quarterly networking events as well, because we're for the first couple of years that I had Bad Media, we wanted to make sure that our contractors knew about each other. We always we take pride in our standard of ethics, and even in my logo it says local, professional, and ethical. That's part of our whole standard at Mad Media. And so usually we only take on clients that hold to our set of values. So we had networking events to introduce our clients to each other, and we've kind of expanded that to the general public. So now we do that quarterly now as well.
That's fantastic. Yay. Thank you for sharing
Hey,
that with us.
thank you.
All right. I'm going to bring you back on in just a moment to ask you a question, but I'm going to go over to Nate and have him introduce himself. So I'll see you in just a little bit, Madeline.
Sounds good.
All right, Nate, you're up. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, maybe some philosophies, but tell us who Nate Kalt is.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having us. My name's Nate Colt. My brother and I own a company called TradeLink, powered by iTex. We're an organized bartering system locally and across the U.S. I was super excited that you had asked me to participate in this, because I feel like bartering is a great way to connect with other individuals, professionals, but also to network and build referral partners. I'm also the owner of NTG Media. I specialize in cinematographer. I'm exclusively do video for weddings, corporate events, and I capture those memories for families to live for a lifetime. I'm real excited to kind of share my story on how I network and how it helped me become connected in San Antonio and Central Texas. So I'm real excited to share that story with you guys.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it too. Although I think I know it. But you might share some with me I don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to hear you tell it. Nate's got, so much positive energy, and people just love being around him. And that name Nate Kalt, it just sounds like somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's there to help, who's pushing things forward in the right direction. I just love that name.
I always tell people one way to remember my last name, Kalt, it means in German, it means cold, but it will stick with you because I'm the farthest from cold.
There you go. Love it. Well, I'm going to ask you the first question, and I'll bring that up on the screen so you can see it, so
Let's
everybody
go
who's
into it.
watching can see it. Let's move into So this is some networking basics. Why do you feel networking is so beneficial? And can you maybe share a personal story where maybe even just a single connection has impacted either your business or your life in some way?
Absolutely. So my quick story was I was born in San Antonio, raised in Nebraska because my father was Air Force. And I had the opportunity to come back to San Antonio to build up the franchise for TradeLink alongside my brother. When I first got to San Antonio, the first thing I did was I joined a BNI group, which is a very structured, organized networking organization. And the reason I did is I had some familiarity with networking groups and the organizations up in Nebraska, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anywhere when I moved here to San Antonio, other than like my family, my cousins, my brothers, which are awesome, by the way. Big shout out to them. But I knew when I got here, I needed to build some connections, especially, I became a cinematographer 5 years ago. And that's kind of like when I got here, I said, I need to connect with more people because not a lot of people wake up in the morning and go, I got to work with the barter company, right? So being in that alliance with the BNI group, I was able to connect with business professionals that are always out there interacting with individuals, customers, their clients. And when you teach them what you do and the problems that you solve, they kind of, you give them those keys to say, hey, you've got downtime, you have overstock inventory, you have unbilled hours. That's a good opportunity for you to barter and trade with, to convert it. So the whole goal with bartering is to get something rather than nothing. So I was able to go in BNI and teach my team or like my alliance, my BNI partners, what I do and the problems I solve. So when they're out there working with their customers, their family, their friends, and they hear someone say, hey, I've got this problem, they're going to personally introduce me to that person. And that connection alone is the best because that warm introduction, they're more likely going to talk to you. They're more likely going to hear what you have to say. And compared to rather a cold call or soliciting them through Facebook where they have no clue who you are. So being able to connect in that BNI, and I still have, there was already some TradeLink members already in the group. So they already had a good idea of what we did. But I also made some great connections in the group and built some great friendships. And even now to this day, I'm not necessarily a BNI member at the moment, but I still have people from that group referring me because they know what we're about, how it works. And so that's also what led me into videography, cinematography is I kind of was like, hey, my family's doing pretty good at this. This is sustainable. I kind of want to learn a new skill. I don't remember how or why I came up with video, but I said, that's what I wanted to learn. So I just started asking everyone, who's the best? Who do I need to know? Who do I need to connect with? Who can I learn this skill from? And I basically found a paid internship, which was pretty cool. It was pretty badass. And so that's kind of what led me down my videography career, which is a very rewarding side for things. It's like instant gratification when you when you're working with someone and you show them the shots and the clips that you're working on in the camera, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That looks great. So, and also I want to talk about, there's several different ways to network, right? Like for instance, Mad Media, she hosts really good after hour social events. Tons of people. I went to her last one, the Pair Launch app. There was tons of people there. And even the one she had before that, tons of people there, great people to connect with. Now, my advice with that is try to keep your conversations short, simple, maybe keep it under 2 or 3 minutes because what can happen is next thing you know, you're in a conversation with someone for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then you don't get to work the room, right? You are so tied up in one conversation. And I'm sure it's a great conversation, but the idea with an after hours is there's a lot of people there. You want to connect with as many people as possible and then set up a one-to-one meeting the next day, next week, get coffee with them. So you guys can go a little bit more in depth about what you guys do and how you guys can partner up or even possibly do business together. Whereas like a BNI, we show up every week where we spend an hour and a half learning about the presentation about their business, what their family, what, their hobbies and all that fun stuff. So you get more of an individualized interaction with people and you start building that alliance where you can spend more time with individuals. So the networking groups like the Chamber of Commerce, BNI. There's a ton of them. They're every day of the week. They're throughout all different times of the day. Get in a mix of both of them. And I know for some people that are a little bit more reserved, it's a little bit more challenging for you to put yourself out there. But when you show up to those events, they have, especially like BNI, they have people to greet you, welcome you, introduce you to people they think would be good, referral partners and alliances with you. So just show up and just put a smile on. And I always find it funny because I always invite people and they're like, I don't have my business cards. And I'm like, we have cell phones nowadays. If someone really wants to connect with you, you guys are going to share your phone numbers, your Instagram, your Facebook. Don't let you not having business cards or collateral or marketing stuff prevent you from showing up to a group, because everyone, we can just connect through phones now. And with how inviting people are and how they want to connect with you, it's real simple. Even if you're reserved, just show up, check it out, and see what it's about.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a very clean, clear, a lot of information you just shared right there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask now, Madeline, that same exact question. So I'll see you back here in just a moment. Let's see. All right, Madeline, the same exact question to you. It's about just networking basics. Why do you feel that networking is beneficial? And can you share maybe a personal story where a single connection has impacted you or your business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every day. So one of the Antonio. Oh, can you hear me? Yes, you went away. I don't know what to do.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. We're in San Antonio. San Antonio is very much of like who you know, because it's the biggest small town, one of the biggest small cities in the nation. Like, one of the things they say is that everybody's connected with each other somehow, usually like 6 people apart. Like every 6th person knows that person. Well, in San Antonio, it's like every 1 or 2, maybe. Like everybody knows everybody in San Antonio. So you can have a really bad reputation very, very quickly. But also everybody wants to do business with their friends. They're going to give it to their cousin. They're going to give an opportunity to their cousin first, and then to their neighbor, and then to their friend, rather than to a stranger. So I went to college in Dallas, and it did not operate that way. I lived in Austin for a little bit. It did not operate as close knit as it is in San Antonio. So of all cities to network, you need a network in San Antonio because we're here. My background was in politics, and like my major's in politics. I was a political consultant for years and years. And that more than anything is what got me into networking, because everything is about who you know and is about how you can strategically use a relationship than in any other sector. So that's how I got into marketing, is because I would coach my political candidates who were running for office how to present in front of the camera, how to use certain connections of theirs or my personal connections to get into a political seat. And then when COVID shut me down because I couldn't do the in-person stuff anymore, instead we had to turn the message into video. So my political candidates had to make videos and had to get the attention of the masses, but also of the donors for the fundraising. And so I kind of got tuned out of politics. I didn't like it as much anymore. So we shifted into more of the marketing sector with the small businesses. But that more than anything is where you see like, okay, it's based on who you know gets the business. So it started in the political sector, and then now it's even more so in the business sector. And it's not that it's necessarily wrong. It's just people are more comfortable with doing business with who they know rather than, again, taking chances on a stranger. It's just a lot of how a lot of people operate, but even more so, like I said, in San Antonio. So how that impacted us lately, I mean, like I'm hiring right now. One of my employees, one of my former employees, she said, hey, I'm not there in the States anymore. Right now, she's in Mexico. She said, I want to recommend my cousin to that position. He's really, he's a sweetheart and he's a really hard worker. Can I recommend him to apply for the job? And yeah, I gave her priority because I knew her work ethic. So if she said this was also a really good hard worker, then I'm going to trust her that she knows what hard work is, what good ethical, like showing up on time, like she knows my standard of working. So if she says, hey, this is a good worker like I am, I'm going to give him priority. And so he's been with me for 2 years now. And I'm hiring again. So I went both to her and to him saying, okay, do y'all have other friends who would like to work? Because y'all know my standard, like it's just going to make my job easier. So it's about who you know.
So true. Yeah, man, that's an interesting background.
Yeah.
A lot of us would not have anything to do with that kind of a background, but you sure learned a lot in that background. I mean, you
Oh yeah,
had
I have
to.
stories.
I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so I'm gonna ask you the next question,
Sure.
and this is on preparing for being successful with networking. So for those who are new to networking, what should they do before attending an event? What should they bring? How should they dress? How can they mentally prepare for it? Because they want to make the most of it. Now, don't answer the question about being intimidated yet, because that's the question after this. But it's just what do I do to get ready for this? What should I expect? How should I dress?
And it's a lot of like how I would tell my political candidates as well, that you are judged on the first 3 seconds, even before you even open up your mouth. Somebody's going to judge you immediately. And like that might seem intimidating, but like that's how you address. It's like if somebody's going to view you negatively without you even opening up your mouth, then you probably want to dress different. You want to be viewed positively. Again, it's not as much as people say they don't judge or they don't feel like they should be judged, like people still judge. It's a lot of it is subconsciously done. And how best to prepare for it is honestly role playing. So I got good at networking because I was what was considered, it's a San Antonio ambassador. So for 4 years, I was trained by the city of San Antonio on how to network. So I was literally trained to be an ambassador of the city of San Antonio to other cities and get people to view the youth favorably for sports programs and scholarships and college programs and things like that. And so they literally taught me how to network by role playing. So this is how you meet a jerk. This is how you react to somebody who's talking too much. This is how do you react to somebody who might be making you uncomfortable. Like they would role play things so that I could handle different situations with tact. So it's that unless I was thrown into the wolves, like there's no better way to get out of your comfort zone and to know all of the different experiences you're going to encounter than that. So getting a friend to role play and then practicing like that. What are you going to say? They ask you this question. How are you going to respond? And so dressing, getting somebody's honest opinion. So don't get the people around you in your circle just to be yes people. Like say, oh, yes, you look great. Oh, yes, you sound awesome. Like get people who are going to be honest with you. Like, no, you need to work on that. You need to work on your stuttering. You need to work on your ums. You need to work on your wardrobe. Like get honest people around you because you're never going to get any better. And then what was that? I think that plays into your last question, right? How do you not be intimidated? How do you mentally prepare? That's how you mentally prepare.
That's fantastic, and that's really interesting about how you did that for the city of San Antonio, and went through whatever classes and steps that you needed to go through, and then actually put
It
that
was
into
good. It was
practice.
a lot of etiquette training as well because it's like, okay, like
Yeah.
you might encounter something that's more of a fancy dinner. Let's make sure that you know how to use that fork and knife because that goes a long way in being in different settings. You don't want to be unprepared for things like that. So just watching YouTube videos on etiquette, it goes really far.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I didn't even think about stuff like that, and I've been networking for, well, a number of years. We don't need to say the exact number. I have to think about it.
More than two.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly the right answer. Well, thank you for that. That's a great answer. I appreciate that. Got to see things. That's the purpose of a panel discussion anyway, is to see things from a different point of view and to learn from these different experiences. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask the same question now of Nate, and I'll be right back. All right, Nate. Now, this question that I'm asking right now leads real quickly into overcoming intimidation and that kind of thing. So stay away from that just yet, because I want to spend some actual time on that one.
You
But
got it.
preparing for networking, what is it that
I definitely
you
want
do?
to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
what is
wanna
it you do, or what do you feel is right?
I really want to piggyback off of Madeline about the role playing. I grew up in the family business, and I believe I started calling my mom's clients at the age of 15. And one crucial thing we would do before we picked up the phone and called them is we would role play within in the office, especially when you start getting that cadence down. And also, if you don't really know how to introduce yourself or like how to go about it, definitely use chat GPT or AI, and then tell it to make it shorter, like 3 times. So what you'll notice is when you start role playing, you get that cadence down. You're a lot more smoother. And even when I would start making the phone calls, the first 2 or 3 calls, I was still kind of like stumbling over myself because you're actually interacting with someone. So the more you get it down, the better you're going to sound, the more professional you're going to come off. You're going to sound like you have it, like you're a professional. And also talking about like, do it in front of a mirror, or even record yourself on your phone and then watch it back. And then even if you record it, you could easily text it someone, Facebook message it to someone, Instagram, like, and then get their feedback. That way you can kind of like get real world experience. Now, other things is branded material, swag with your logo on it, a hat, t-shirt, having your name present really also shows that you're a professional, but also it helps people recognize you and associate you with your brand. So I think, like a big shout out to Joe McKiddish with Blue Collar Connect. They're a networking group that strictly is about blue collar companies like HVAC, plumbers, electricians. And he literally wears a t-shirt, black t-shirt with his logo and a cowboy hat. And that's his brand. But people know that. And so highly recommend get something screen printed, embroidered. There's, I think, DTF. There's a lot of different ways that you can brand yourself, but also it helps people recognize, you and you're associated with your brand. But also role playing, huge. And you got to practice it. You got to do it. And then send it to others that are going to give you real feedback. And I invite you, if you want to send me your introduction, or if you want want me to check it out, or you want to jump on a phone call, you're definitely welcome to reach out to me. And I'd love to, role play with you. I think there's one other question. You can pull it back up. How they dress. Definitely. It's all about being presentable. Like Madeline said, people are judging you. And if you got wrinkled shirts, you got sandals on, you're coming in cargo shorts, people are going to recognize that. And that may influence them to talk to you or may not talk to you. So just also be yourself. If that's your style and your vibe, definitely go with it. But also if you're working with very professional and prestigious companies, you might want to wear a blazer. You might want to make sure your hair's done, clean up the face, right? So just keep those things in mind. And if you always have questions, you can use AI to also guide you and help prepare you, how to dress, what to say. It's a great tool to use nowadays. We're so lucky to have that tool in our lifetime.
Yes, all that. Role playing is one of those things where I think everybody knows what that means, but even that is intimidating. But it does help because you're doing it in a situation where you're doing it with people it's not one of those things that anybody cares about. It's not going anywhere. So you're getting yourself more comfortable. So that's a fantastic way to do it. Now, if someone wants to just jump out into the fire and show up into the next networking event, do you encourage them to do that, or wait a little bit and try some role playing?
You gotta go. Don't hesitate. Be there. Like I said, a lot of times people are going to come up to you and introduce themselves. A lot of times, like Madeline said, there's ambassadors there. Their whole job is to make you feel welcomed and potentially introduce you to people they think that you're going to connect with and potentially build an alliance with. Don't sleep on it. Don't. Show up.
There you go. I agree. Hey, you guys feeling this? If so, let me know in the comments, or click that like button, click that love button. And Nate and Madeline are here donating their time to you, helping you out. The least you can do is tell them thank you in the comments. At least that's what I think you can do. So do that real quick. Now, let's move into things that are intimidating, because I think to some degree, most of us are intimidated by some things, and a lot of creatives are intimidated by a lot of things. We get uncomfortable. We're just not good in groups, or there's just something about it that makes us not feel good. Is it because it's not a good thing, or because we just haven't put ourselves out enough? What advice do you get for someone who struggles to put themselves out there and maybe just start a conversation?
It's definitely a known fact that something that's not normal to you is going to be challenging for you. So the more practice, the more you put yourself in that environment, the more natural it's going to feel, the better you're going to adapt, the more fluid you're going to be. And so I encourage you, like, also something to consider is, if you know you're a reserved person, maybe go with someone that's more outgoing and that would, kind of balance your personality out, especially if you have like, a good example is a power partner, like a massage therapist and a chiropractor. They have the same clients. So going together, you guys can kind of hype each other up and put you guys, introduce each other to other people. So always be willing to build an alliance with someone else that also has the same clientele as you. And it doesn't always have to be that. Like, you could really vibe with someone or connect with someone. And again, it's all about introductions, especially in San Antonio. Who do you know? And having someone introduce you to someone else is going to be a great introduction. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's things I'm intimidated by. I like to call it, like, I've got head trash. And like, sometimes I'll be thinking, oh, well, that company or that person would never want to do business with me. But you really don't know. And I always like to say the worst you're going to get is no, or like, it's not going to go anywhere. But at least you tried, because some of my most successful clients I've done business with, I kind of had these thoughts in my head. I'm like, they wouldn't be interested in working with me. But I took the risk. I asked, I reached out, I connected with them, and look at us now. Like, we're doing business, we're doing lots of deals. And so it never, like I said, the worst that's going to happen is it's no. I would rather have taken that chance and shot my shot and, and missed than not have tried at all.
Yes, man. You guys are answering these questions so well. A lot of good information there. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we are uncomfortable in situations we haven't put ourselves in. And there are, you guys who are watching, there is something that you used to be uncomfortable with that now you can do without a problem. How about driving? Were you uncomfortable with driving the very first time you sat in the driver's seat and got out on the highway? Of course you were. Now you can change the radio station, change the air, talk to the person next to you, and watch out for the crazy guy in the right lane who's about to cut you off, all at the same time, and not even worry about it. It's because you did it. You put yourself out there. You made it happen, that became normal to you and no longer intimidating. Do you agree with that, Nate?
Oh, absolutely. It's repetition. And that goes back to the role playing, just constantly doing it, trying it, and it'll become more natural for you. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that, Nate. I appreciate it. I'll bring you back here in just a moment, and I'm going to ask Madeline that same question. All right, Madeline, what are your thoughts here on this one? I mean, intimidation, being an introvert, these are real problems that people deal with. What advice can you give them to help them out with those struggles?
To somebody who's introverted,
or feeling intimidated.
Well, if you're in the world of business, you just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. It's, everybody has to put on a persona that they are personable, that they are extrovert, because then you really aren't just going to get anywhere. And anything worth doing, you have to put in that effort. You have to be uncomfortable. The more you do it, the more comfortable it's going to be. But it's going to require getting out of your comfort zone. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you're right. We have to do it. Is it difficult? Of course, but it doesn't remain difficult. And if you keep putting it off and you keep allowing that feeling to cause you not to do it, then you never get to where you want to go. You never get to the point
right. Or somebody else will take that opportunity. So somebody who's extrovert is actually going to be the one who's successful at that point. And then you just have to be comfortable losing out on all the opportunity.
That's a good way to state that, because we don't want to do that.
So it's hard to talk to people, but it's also hard to be poor, so you have to pick your hard.
Yes. Love that. All right. So I'm going to ask you, Madeline, the next question. And guys, if this is resonating with you today, let us know in the comments. Just say, yes, this is good stuff. Or thank Madeline for being here. Thank Nate for being here today. Question number 4, leveraging networking groups and the organization. So we know that there are lots of them out there. Groups, organizations, the business chambers, photography associations. How can photographers find the right groups and get the most value from those efforts?
Sure. So it depends on what everybody's level is at, but I started with the free ones. And those free ones are on Eventbrite and on Facebook. And then from the free ones, you can pick the best of those free ones, but just go to all of them at first, because there's different ones, different strokes for different folks. There's ones that are all females. There's ones that have to do with more neighborhood groups. There's one that has to do with more like parents and all of the businesses that are associated with the family. There's more so ones focused on contractors. So those are really good. But then after that, it depends on your budget and your clientele. So there's certain companies where they only service commercial. So those are going to be more of the chambers where they have the political people who are in charge of those contracts, the county commissioners who are the ones actually budgeting that in for the county projects. So those are going to be the type of chambers that they're going to want to join, but those aren't cheap. So that, again, is going to depend on the clientele, and that's going to depend on the budget.
Yeah, that's a good point. I probably did it that same exact way, although I did join one of the chambers pretty early on, but it was because of a mentor that I had at that time who pushed me to do that. I don't, I know for sure I would not have done that had that mentor not pushed me. And that definitely brought in a good amount of business and over a long period of time. So I guess that says something about getting a mentor.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for answering that question. I'm going to ask that same question now of Nate, and I'll bring you right back in just a few minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So, Nate, what are your thoughts on this? There's lots of them out there. So how can a photographer, a creative, find the right groups and get some value out of them?
I really like to compare it to like dating. You don't go on a first date and then jump into a full relationship right off the bat. Like, you kind of try some different people, you date around, you find someone that you really connect with. Same with networking events. Like, you're going to want to find, and there's a lot of different things, like the time, location, the type of professionals that are there, like Madeline was talking about, but go check them all out. Because what you're going to find out is one location's better for you based on where it's in town, or the time's great for you, but also the people that are in the group. Like, you're going to really connect with certain people in certain groups and maybe not so much in other groups, right? So you might not join that group, or you might not participate in that group. So check them all out and kind of see which one you vibe with and connect with, and then kind of lean in more into that and continuously show up, because it's not just a matter of like showing up to the event. You also need to connect with people on a one-to-one, invite them to coffee. But there's a saying that in BNI, it's givers gain. The idea of, I want to give more to you than I'm going to receive, because that's how you earn referrals, right? And so the other thing I was going to say, I wrote it down here in my notes, is like, keep in mind there's different types of networking groups. Like, there's a cigar smoking networking group called Havana Boys. Like, I'm not really big into smoking cigars, but for some people that's really fun for them. They really enjoy that. Like, and there's a networking group called Blue Collar Connect, where it's all blue collar people, like the plumbers, the electricians, and the handymen. That might be the type of demographics that you're looking to connect with, because they're good referral sources. So just kind of check all the different sources. And also, like, there's some events that are on like Fridays, which are more relaxed and more of a social, like Madeline's event. Like, there was like 80 people, probably 100 people there. And it was a great turnout compared to if you go to BNI, it's like 20, 30, 40 people, but it's also a little bit more structured and organized. So again, you just got to try them all out and see what really you like based on the type of vibes and the people that you connect with in the group.
It's good advice. I joined one that was early. I think it was 6:30 as a breakfast networking group.
Whew.
I
I've
wasn't
been to
able to
one.
keep
I've been
that
to one of
going
those.
long
It was
enough.
hard to get there on time.
Yeah.
I've got kids, so
There you go. So, for those of us who get up early and, if I don't have something to do, I definitely am not one who just wakes up. I use an alarm to get up early. But yeah, I didn't last very long in that particular group. Well, thank you for that. So let's ask the next question of you. Um, this is about alliance marketing strategies. So,
yes.
not necessarily networking, although there's definitely overlap, but what types of businesses, and you mentioned, using that as a tool to help you get out there and do to do introductions. That was a fantastic example, by the way. But what types of businesses would you suggest that maybe portrait photographers partner with? And how do you approach a potential partner for this type of a collaboration? Maybe describe one that you have put together that might help out? It's up to you. What do you think about this?
Well, the first thing I recommend is be authentic and just be straightforward, but also keep it short and simple. Like recently, I had reached out to Savannah Saunders. I said, "Hey, let's grab coffee. I'd like to get to know you a little bit more. I'd like to share some stuff about me." And I think we have a meeting next week to get together. But also, find people that don't. I don't want to say necessarily don't do what you do, but really focus on people that are in different areas of photography or different industries. Like Madeline, she's really good at short form reels. So like I do weddings. Like, so if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to do a lot of content for my Instagram," I'm going to say, "Hey, you got to work with Madeline because she's the one that specializes in that." Or like, for instance, I work with a lot of different photographers, and it's awesome when they send me referrals, right? Because they know my quality of work. So I would just say, reach out to them, be authentic, be you, and just keep it short and simple. But also try to find others that maybe specialize in different niches, different than you, so that you guys can share referrals. Like for instance, on a more creative side, if someone needed very specific, videography work, I might refer them to Nitro Media Group. If someone was asking me for like a very creative and abstract photographer, I might mention Daniel Grove because I really like his artistic style. And so just kind of keep that in mind, because you guys there's enough business here in San Antonio Tech. There's enough business all around that, I can't take it on, and we can all share business together. So don't feel like if someone's your competitor that you guys are going to be competing against each other, because you guys can build an amazing alliance together. Because like some people are really busy, and some months they're like, "Hey, Nate, can you take on this job, or can I send this guy to you? Because we need to get him taken care of," kind of thing. So even though if they do the same thing or they have the same niche as you, don't be afraid to connect with them, because also you might be able to learn from them. You might be able to refer to them. They might be able to refer to you. And just ask. Be authentic. Keep it short and simple, and invite them to coffee or maybe lunch. I like coffee because it's a little bit quicker, but because the days are busy now. But and also with Zoom, and it's so easy to connect with people that are across the world, across the state, that we have amazing tools to leverage nowadays.
No kidding. Yeah, we've got it good. We just have to use those tools. We have to first of all, I guess, assume that there's value in them so that we can have that push, that motivation to get out and do that. And I'm glad you mentioned that some of our networking is absolute, or our alliances are going to be with other people who are doing the same thing. Although the majority are going to be those who are targeting the same market that we're targeting, but aren't necessarily competitors to us. But it comes from both, and having those good relationships could cause that to happen. And it's definitely going to cause you to have good conversations and learn something that you may not have had any other opportunity to have learned about, or at least not as quickly. So
I also want to mention, like, for instance, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, can you teach me photography?" I would send them to Jim Landers, because he specializes in fact, big shout out. When I first got into, photography, videography, I took his class, and it was amazing because he put me through scenarios that I had no clue were, a thing. and same with like Madeline. I've used Jim Landers. I'm currently using Mad Media for short-term content, and I would speak highly and recommend them.
Well, thank you, Nate. And no, I didn't pay him to do that.
I did pay you though, and it was worth every penny.
Well, that's true. That's true. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate that. All right, I'll bring you back here in just a moment. I'm going to bring Madeline on to ask that same question. So, Madeline, what are your thoughts here about alliance marketing strategies? What types of business would you suggest that a portrait photographer might partner with?
A portrait photographer. I mean, every connection is going to be a good connection somehow. So like, and what I mean by that, I'll give an example. One of my clients, because I do TikToks, Reels, like Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts for clients. And one of my clients, she does hair, and her clientele is an older demographic. They're usually middle-aged women and older women and men that need their haircut. And she fought with me for 2 years about getting a TikTok. She's like, no, I don't want it to. And it was going to be free with her package. She wasn't going to pay extra for TikTok. She, for 2 years, did not want TikTok because she said that that was not her demographic. She didn't want the younger crowd in the salon studio. That's just not who could afford her really expensive hairstyles. And so after 2 years, I finally convinced her to do it. It's now her number one platform. And it's not because young people are seeing it or it's not because the old people are on it, seeing it and then booking her. It's because the grandchildren are seeing it and then saying, hey, grandma, this lady does hair just like how you need it. Go ahead and book her. And those people are booking because like the neighbor saw, the sister-in-law, the daughter, somebody is seeing it and then referring over to her hair salon. So she's actually on TikTok, not because her audience is on there, but because her audience's circle is on there. And so that's how it is with connecting. They actually might not be your clientele, but they are going to know somebody who is your clientele. So don't dismiss somebody, whether it's in a networking group or somebody you connect with, because they're not immediately going to serve your needs, but they know somebody who is. And again, us being in San Antonio, everybody's so super interconnected. They're probably most likely going to know somebody that is going to serve you somehow, whether that be knowledge, whether that be signing up for the services, whether that be a connection that you're going to need from them. The worst thing you could possibly do is dismiss somebody as not important, because that's happened with me several times. I was at a girls' dinner and somebody who I admired in the business world completely dismissed me. She had no idea who I was, but she was extremely, extremely rude. And when it came to asking me a favor, she actually found out who I was later, and she asked me for a favor. Like, what was I going to do? Tell her yes? Like, no, I'm not going to open that door for her. She was rude to me. She didn't even remember that girl dinner, you know? But it was one of those moments where if you're dismissive to somebody, they will remember a bad experience actually more than they'll remember a good experience. So connect with everybody and treat everybody with respect and dignity, because it's going to come back to you later, especially in San Antonio.
Amen. Preach. Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that San Antonio is the largest small town, and of course I've heard that many times. And maybe someone who hasn't lived here for a little while or is not into networking may not understand what that means, but it's the truth. There's so many connections, and that those levels of separation that you mentioned, was that Kevin Bacon's levels of separation, something along those lines?
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, it's close. We all know someone who knows someone. And some people are on LinkedIn, and it kind of shows some of those connections on LinkedIn. But it's the truth, and how you treat people does matter. Every once in a while I'll see someone post something that says, treat everyone the same, whether they're sweeping the floors or in the C-suite. And for some, that's just the norm. That's just natural. Why would you even have to think about that? And others, they actually do have to put themselves in a position where they've got to think about it. But you're right, it is beneficial to treat everyone well all the time. And it's harmful in every way to not do that. So why choose the negative option if it's going to harm even you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's a good one. Very good one. All right, I'm going to ask you the next question, and this one is on maintaining and nurturing relationships. So networking is about both making the connections, but it's also about keeping them. So, what strategies are you using that helps to maintain or strengthen your relationships over long periods of time?
And that one's actually something I'm actively trying to work on as well, because we can always get so overwhelmed. We want to like set up an appointment and then move on to the next appointment. We just have so much going on, so many wheels turning at the same time. It's like hard to um, give 110% all the time. Like I have to remember that. And so the nurturing the relationships, like one of the main things, it's like really simple, but like in a conversation, maintaining eye contact, because everybody's got their phones going off all the time. So I personally have two phones to make sure that I don't miss anything, whether, because a lot of what we do is PR. So sometimes messages will come in from an angry customer of our client, and we have to take care of that right away. And we have to make sure that, because on the internet, it spreads like way faster than wildfire. It can multiply really fast, really badly. So I always want to make sure of that. And so one of the things that I had to be conscious about was that when I'm in a conversation with somebody, I'm not also checking my phone. Because then it's like I'm being dismissive of them in the conversation, and they'll remember that. They'll remember that, oh, she doesn't care. She's not even paying attention in the conversation. She didn't even understand the impact of what I just told her. Like that was a really big deal, and she's just now checking her phone. So I have to consciously work on that, but that's something that other people do as well, because I don't like when it happens to me either. So maintaining eye contact, and like if your phone's buzzing, then turn it off, put it away, do something, just ignore it, because we're in a technological world. And so nurturing those relationships, it's a lot of like turning off other channels of communication when you're in a one-on-one. That's the main thing, and that's the one I've been working on as well, because we are a media company, and so we have to be surrounded by media. It doesn't turn off. It's 24/7. But we have to remember that our relationships are number one based on communication, and so nurturing those relationships is maintaining that level of communication.
That's a lot of variables you have to deal with, Madeline. Average Joe's not having to deal with quite that much, although it's still going to have the same impact, because they're dealing with their own problems. You're dealing with your own, and well, everybody else's that you're working with, and so that's some real pressure right there. But if anyone can handle it, it's Madeline.
That's why we drink coffee in the evening as well.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's something that I wouldn't have thought about before, but it does make perfect sense. So thank you for sharing. All right.
For sure.
I'll bring you back here in just a moment. I'm going to ask Nate the same question. So, Nate, what are your thoughts here on maintaining and nurturing relationships?
These are great questions, Jim. And I got some good notes here. Now, the first thing I want to recommend is it's the BNI saying, their motto, givers gain. My best recommendation is don't go into it with expectations or having intentions that they're going to, do something for you. What I mean by that is, like, if you're referring someone, you're connecting people, do it because you authentically want to do it, and you want to see them succeed, and you want to support them, right? And some really simple things you can do to build and keep relationships is post them on your socials, right? Like give them a shout out, hype them up. Or a lot of times, like I'm in like local groups, and someone says, hey, I'm looking for this, or I'm trying to get this done, and tag them and their business and say, hey, I highly recommend them. They're going to see that. They're going to really appreciate it. But also, just because you do that and just because you connect them with people, don't expect that they're going to do it for you, right? Do it because you authentically want to help them, right? And hopefully over time, they see the value of what they're doing, what you're doing for them, and they want to help you and they want to see you succeed. But don't go into it with expectations. Don't go with it with certain intentions, because you're going to get upset. you're gonna probably get salty. And so do it because you really want to see them and you support them and you really believe in their work and you trust them. That's why we refer people out. It's because we know they do a good job, they're reliable, and we can count on them. Especially when I'm going to send someone to my friend or my family. Like, last thing I want to do is give them a number to a contractor that's not going to even answer their call, show up and give them a written estimate, or kind of no call, no show and not do a good job. Like, I don't want my name associated with that. So that's what, and then also personally introduce them to people, right? This could be your family, your friends. This could be as simple as a group text, a Facebook group message, or like picking up the phone and calling, a certain client of yours and say, hey, you told me you want to really up your social media. You need to call Madeline, or let me introduce you to Madeline because she's excellent. She specializes in that. That personal touch is going to go so far. And, or like, for instance, if someone needs photography classes or mentoring, I'm going to tell Jim, and I probably would set up a group message and introduce you guys and say, hey, this is an intro. This is Jim. This is Karen. And I know you guys would connect. I just wanted to personally introduce you. And it doesn't have to be complex or sophisticated. Like I say, just keep it short and simple, authentic, and to the point.
Yes. Did I mention you guys need to know Nate? He promotes you. He says good things about you. Don't you want more people like that in your life?
Yeah, if you guys own a business or you're a striving photographer or you're in any industry, I invite you to connect with me, Jim, Madeline, and let's just have a quick conversation and see where it goes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I've got the next question for you.
Let's do it.
There are challenges in networking. So maybe can you share a challenge or a concern or some mistake that maybe someone who's new or maybe someone who's specifically a photographer might make when trying to network?
Ooh, this is a good question. Don't overthink it, especially for those ones that are reserved or introverted. Just show up, be present. And also, like I was mentioning with certain more structured groups, you can't just show up to the weekly meeting. Right? Like, that's cool. And people are going to know of you, but they're not going to know you. Right? What I recommend is set up it's called one-to-ones. It's just a one-on-one meeting. This can be on the phone, Zoom, in person. In person's always going to be the best. And it's not always going to be a business conversation. A lot of times when I connect with someone, I'm going to ask them, what are their hobbies? Do they have a family? Do they have kids? What's their why? Like, why are they, what makes them get up in the morning, right? Those little things are going to be impactful when they're going to be like, hey, Nate really cares. This person really cares about me, my life, and what I got going on. So, but you can't just show up to the weekly meetings. You got to meet with people one-to-one. And sometimes it could be like a group of 3 or 4 getting breakfast Wednesday morning. Like, it doesn't have to be too challenging, but you got to show up. You got to be consistent. And you can't just go to the weekly meetings. You have to connect with people on a one-to-one basis and really, again, don't have the intentions. Just be there authentically and want to get to know them and get to learn their style and what makes them drive, and then go from there. I think that's kind of like the one big challenge. People just show up to the weekly meeting. And like I said, people are going to know of you, but they're not going to know you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you feel there's an advantage to the more structured or to the just open ones where anybody can show up? Or do you think they all have value? So do it all.
They do all have value, but I think it's depending on the person. Like, what is your style? What's your vibe? If you're more relaxed and you don't want structure, like if you miss a certain amount of BNI meetings, they kick you out of the group. Like, you're out. Like, you're not reliable. We can't count on you. But there's really cool ways you can send a substitute to be there on your behalf. So there's a lot of ways around it. So yes, I think they all have value, but I think you really need to focus on like, what's your style? What works for you? Like, some people are like, yeah, I want to go to Friday and have the after hour social and have a beer while I'm networking. Or like the cigar group, Havana Boys, like those guys love cigars and they love talking while they're smoking and puffing on a cigar. Like, that's their style. They really enjoy it. So I think it's dependent on the person and your style.
That makes sense. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to ask that same question of Madeline. I'll be right back with you in just a moment. All right, Madeline, what are your thoughts here? I mean, there are challenges that someone may face when trying to do networking. So maybe name an example of one. Maybe it's a challenge, or maybe it's a concern, maybe it's a mistake that you've seen someone try when attempting to network.
Um, yeah, it depends on the person. For some of my employees who are, a little bit more intimidated, and shy and female, then sometimes they'll, by default, attract somebody who's overbearing and making them uncomfortable. And so a lot of it is the energy that somebody gives off in a networking event. So if you feel, or if you're giving off it's kind of sucks to say it, but it's just like, if you play a victim in a certain scenario, then you basically attract predators. And that's like, it sounds super harsh, but that's the truth. So there's a lot of either like people who are females in the scenario, and they're like, well, I only attract these guys who are jerks. And it's like, okay, well, but what energy are they giving off in the room? And that's almost it. Again, it sounds terrible, but it's the truth though. So I a lot of times I don't have to deal with somebody with that scenario, because again, the role playing, like I was saying earlier, if you have an idea of how to cut off certain conversations when they should end already, or single out a person, it's like, hey, I do want to talk to this person, X, Y, and Z person, about X, Y, and Z, then making sure that you have that conversation, that's going to prevent a lot of things that are uncomfortable that come up. So it's role playing, and also having kind of like a buddy system, having somebody that you connect with at the event, who's going to help make those connections for you, whether that be somebody who's involved with putting on the event, or somebody who's a little bit more experienced with networking, that's going to help you at the events. So one thing about my events at Mad Media is that we have our employees who are always going to help make that connection, because I understand what it's like to be intimidated in a setting where it's like you don't know anybody, and it's a lot of people that look like they know each other. And so I never want my events to feel that way. So at our events, we always say, if you can approach one of our staff members and they'll help make a connection for you to kind of break that ice. So when it comes to being uncomfortable, it's just making sure that you're mentally prepared for potentially uncomfortable situation, and just nipping it in the bud, and then moving on, and then just not dwelling on it, because a lot of people are there to be positive, a lot of people are there to do serious business, a lot of people are there being genuine, and it's just making sure that you weed out all of the ones who are not there for those reasons, and then focusing on the people that are.
Yes, a lot of good stuff in that. A lot of good ways to look at it as well. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Nate mentioned this before, but the next question, I want to hear your thoughts on this about giving in networking. Uh, some some of the best relationships start with you giving of yourself. So, what are some ways to provide value that is going to help provide or build stronger connections?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be giving somebody some sort of value. And what I value for a lot of people that I meet is some sort of connection that I could give them. So if somebody's looking for a job, they're like, well, I'm at this level. I'm looking to, broaden my horizons in this industry. Like, I know a lot of contractors who are always hiring, or bars and restaurants, they're always hiring. Like, I always want to make sure that I put the right people in the right place. And the other thing is internships. If somebody, I worked for free for many, many years, and that's how I became experienced in what I know. It wasn't because I got paid for it. It was because I literally worked for free to learn the trade best. So I really value interns and what value that could bring to not only the company, but also to the student. So anybody who is either looking for interns or students who are looking for opportunity, I'm always looking for that connection. And people remember that. The companies remember what value you bring to them, and the individual remembers the opportunity that you gave them. So how you can bring value to somebody, a lot of times, like, so sometimes that could be knowledge in the topic that you understand. I always try and teach what I know about social media, because there are a lot of things that marketing agencies either don't know or don't do ethically, that we try and educate our small business owners on. And I give free social media classes, and a lot of times in conversation, somebody's having a problem, like I can't get into my Facebook page, or something's like wrong with this button. So sometimes it could be knowledge that I could give them as value, but a lot of times, again, in San Antonio, it's about connections. So it's about who I could connect you with in a conversation. Or further down the road, like, oh, I actually know that person, like, no problem, I can give you their contact info. The people will value that, and then remember you as, I try and be remembered as like a connector. It's just somebody who's like, oh, she introduced me to so and so, and I really appreciate her for that. That a part of why we have our free networking events. We do not charge for networking events. So that's, if you don't know anybody, like, if anybody is trying to get into that space, you just have to put yourself out there and start knowing people.
Man, that's some good stuff. There's, someone said something to me years ago, and it was kind of an epiphany moment. But when you do network, you get an opportunity to meet people you would never have had an opportunity to meet before. Some of them have interesting jobs, or they have interesting hobbies, or some of them are well known, and you would never have an opportunity to visit with them otherwise. But the comment that someone made to me was, and it was an epiphany moment to me, because it was just the norm, getting out and talking to people. I didn't really. It was intimidating, and I am an introvert, but I didn't show it when I'm doing these things. You don't know that I'm an introvert, but I am. But when I'm at these events, I'm fine for the most part. But this person said, you really know a lot of people, because he was having a conversation, and he would say something about something, and I would have something to add, or he said, do you know about, and I would add a little more to the story, because I knew who he was talking about. But it was because of networking that caused that, which I just thought was the norm. It kind of felt like everybody did it, but it's just not the case. It's actually a very small percentage, and that small percentage has an edge over everyone else.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
And reputations are built really quickly, especially in San Antonio. But in the business world, for sure. And we actually had a company reach out to us a couple of years ago. And they reached out. I had no idea who they were, but they had heard of us with what we could do. And he said, well, I heard your price was, X, Y, and Z. And I said, well, I take that back. I did know who they were, because I told them on the phone. I said, well, usually in your industry, we charge double for what you're asking, but because of your reputation, I'm going to charge triple. And he said, fine. And they signed up.
That's a story you don't hear very often. Wow. Thank you for that, Madeline. All right, let's see if Nate has an interesting story like that. I'll be right back. All right, Nate, you probably didn't want to follow that story, did you?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So,
in fact,
you've got some more to share with giving and networking, right? I mean, you know about this stuff, and you probably had some stuff from before that you could bring back in as well.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to tie back into the last question about a challenge. Don't show up to sell, right? Networking is not designed to sell to someone. Networking is designed to build referral partners, alliances, and So don't go to show up to sell. Like those are not where you're going to find you'll connect, you'll do some business. Of course, you'll probably get some sales out of it. But if you have that expectation that you're going to go to a networking group or a after hour social and get new clients just from that sole fact, it's not going to be as successful. But some really simple things you can do is, like it's all about giver's gain. So you can ask other people, who's their ideal client? What industries do they work with? And someone that's really good at this is Fabian Cantu. And he ups it, right? He says, hey, Nate, you're looking, or I tell him I'm looking for this, or I'm trying to do this, or I work with these type of people. And he right there sends me an introduction in a group text message to that person that he thinks that would be, vibe with me, connect with me, or even be a good client of mine. So that's him doing that is huge for me. I'm like, whoa, this guy is awesome. And then even when I was at Madeline's event, I had asked a few people like, well, who are you after? Who do you do business with? And I had a few people that asked, didn't ask me, but they're like, yeah, I know about Madeline. I know about Mad Media, but I don't know her. And so I'm like, here, I know her. Like, let's go over. I'll introduce you right now. And I'm sure she made some good connections from that. So I don't remember exactly what the question is, but, another thing that you do really good, Jim, is you take selfies with a lot of people. And then I get posted on your socials after the fact and I get tagged on it. So those are some really simple ways to giver's gain, giving more than you're receiving. Just asking people, like, who do you want to connect with? What industries do you work with? Posting selfies with them. Great ways to do it. And actually introducing them to people is huge. I don't know if I answered the question, but I think that was kind of a long one.
Yeah, it did. You know what? I used to make fun of people for doing selfies, but then I saw the value on the business side of doing them, and that thought went away. It was, I guess, popular at one point to make fun of people who did selfies. But man, you're right. You tag them, they see it. They can feel that, because I enjoy doing it. I know it's a weird thing. Going back in time, that would be a weird thing to enjoy doing. I enjoy doing it because it helps me share. I like these guys, and they may or may not have received that from me just by the conversation. I hope they do, but me posting a photograph of them saying I spent some time with this guy and I posted on my page, I think that does just a bit more to help them feel like I like them, I appreciate them, because I do. So
it also gives you social proof. It also gives you social proof, Jim.
Yeah,
and
true.
When people are seeing this and they maybe know you, they're like, well, hey, like you said, you know people, right? So it's huge. It's awesome. Good job. Good work at doing that, because I need to do more of that. I'm going to consciously put an effort towards that.
It's a good one. It's surprising where it isn't anymore because it's become the norm, but it was surprising that was an effective tool. All right, so we are almost out of time, but I wanted to ask this question of both of you, and I want your response to be as short as you're able to. But here's the question, and I'll put it up on the screen so everybody can see it. I want you to give an action step. So for photographers who maybe don't have a strong network yet, what is one simple step? Just weed out everything else, get them to focus in. What's one simple step that they can make today, they can make this week at least, to start building valuable connections?
Absolutely. I'm going to tie it into two things. First off is get online and check out the different groups, times, locations, and go just show up, right? Another great valuable tool, and I do this for a living, is barter and trade services with other business owners. Bartering is a great way to expand your portfolio, build referral partners, connect with other individuals. And barter goes back to before cash was even a thing. And you'd be surprised how many individuals, business owners would be willing to trade with you, especially, get a good headshot, some family photos, maybe a branding session. Don't be afraid to ask a business owner to barter and trade services with you. And a little shameless plug, TradeLink is an organized bartering system that makes it safe, secure, and easy to trade with hundreds of local business owners and thousands of business owners across the U.S.
I've used it for years, so I can vouch for that. I thoroughly enjoy it. There's some things that we wouldn't have done had it not been for that relationship. and for multiple reasons. In fact, I think I either mentioned to you or Baron, we couldn't afford the surgery for a dog, and someone on the system was willing to trade the surgery for the dog and save the dog. So that's huge.
Can you imagine not having to shell out couple $1,000s in cash?
That's
Being
what it
able
was.
to
I think it
trade
was
your services?
2,500 or something. We just did a trade.
Like I just
So
got my windshield replaced. It was $1,300 out of pocket. You know, that was
dang. Thank you for sharing that, Nate. All right, I'm going to bring Madeline on. I'm going to bring you back on here in just a minute. So, Madeline, can you share with me just maybe some action step that someone can take away from today, something that they can implement quickly, so that just helps them to narrow their focus and all this other stuff that's kind of getting in their way and kind of causing them to put it off, help them to focus in on just something that they can do right away, that's going to have some kind of a value to them quickly.
Yeah, and kind of like what Nate said is go on Facebook or Eventbrite and pick a networking event to go to, and go to it and meet 5 people. And then out of those people, follow up with one person at least. So meet 5 people that either their business card, contact information, and then pick one of them that you kind of vibe with, and then follow up with a coffee date, lunch date, something like that, and have a one-on-one outside of that networking event. So more than just go to the networking event, start building a connection from that one networking event, and then try and make that a habit.
I like that. I mean, here's the business cards that I got from the last one that I was at, and I take notes on them because I'm going to forget by the time I get home. So you can see there's notes on every single one. No, pretty much all of these cards. I don't want you to see who it is because that's not what's the important part. But yeah, I take notes on them because there's something about what they said that that I'm going to forget. I forget names really easily, so that helps me remember who they are. I add them to my database. I send most of them a straight email, just me to them, not a group email, because I don't feel like I've earned that right yet to put them into my group emails. But I might, in my email, the direct email, ask if they would mind me adding them to my list, but I don't necessarily add them to my list unless they've asked for it, and sometimes that happens. But
exactly. And one of the tips I could give for like business cards is putting your face on the business card, because same thing, like I'm not going to remember a name, and if they give me a card and their business name and it's a very quick conversation, I'm not going to remember it. I might remember it if they have their face on it, but one mistake a lot of people, especially one industry, they will use 20-year-old face pictures on their business cards. That's just as bad as just not having your face on it, because if you don't look the same 20 years ago, then nobody's going to remember that either. And then the other thing is leaving a blank space on your business card so that people can make the notes like you do. So some people, like I was guilty of it myself, I made business cards and it was all black because it looked really cool, or I could have the white lettering on it, but then people couldn't take notes on the card because of that. So leaving a blank space, but also having your photo on it so that people remember you. And also physically having a card, because a lot of people like to use the digital business cards, which is good if you text them. But a lot of people forget to text. So what they'll do is they'll scan it, save it in the contact information, and then forget what your name was. So you're just listed in the contact, but they don't remember where you are. So you're just lost in their phone forever.
Yep. I definitely have examples of that in my
phone. Yeah.
Well, I want to give you an opportunity to maybe summarize your thoughts and suggestions on networking and alliances, whatever it takes to help grow your business on this side of things.
Yeah, for sure. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's going to get more and more secondhand nature the more you do it. It's like practicing a muscle. It's like exercising a muscle, and that muscle has to grow. And so it's going to become easier as you practice. And then remember that everybody you meet knows somebody. The saying is every dud knows a stud. So even if you don't think that they're important to you at the moment, they're going to somehow be important to you later. That's just how it works in the universe. And then, so just treat everybody with dignity and respect in all aspects. Be present, make eye contact, trying not to think of too many different things at once, like make them feel valued and important. And then just don't think about how you can benefit from that interaction. Think about how you can bring value to them, not just because you want to be a good person, but also because that's how they're going to remember you. Like if you do want to have and walk in morals and values and ethics in every movement. So don't just think of it as like I'm a good person. It actually does hold value in your business, in what you're trying to achieve. So it's not just for that. It's also good in a business sense.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Madeline.
You're
You're
welcome.
awesome. I haven't known you very long, but I like you. In case those of you who are watching don't know, I believe it was Eventbrite that I found you, because I was looking for an event on a specific date for my camera club. And I wasn't able to put something together on my own because I didn't have time to put it together. And so I figured there's something going on that could be beneficial. So I reached out to Madeline, and she was just, just like giving a friend a hug. Just come on, yeah, let's do this. This is exciting. Tell me about your group. And so Madeline is definitely somebody you want to know. That beautiful smile has a beautiful heart behind it. And so she's going to tell you like it is, but if you don't appreciate someone who does that, you might be a little too soft for owning your own business, because you have to have the hard parts to get to the parts that you want, that you can't wait to have. And so reach out to Madeline, because she's awesome. She rocks. You rock, Madeline.
Well, you're pretty awesome yourself.
Oh, I appreciate
I've enjoyed
that.
every conversation we've had, and thank you so much for this.
Likewise. All right, I'm going to bring you back here in a second just to say thanks, but I'm going to bring Nate back on for his closing thoughts. All right, Nate, tell me maybe a kind of a summary of what you want to share as your last words on the show.
I think we had a great opportunity to cover a lot of topics and a lot of thoughts. My biggest advice is, again, don't show up to come sell. Go show up to build referral partners. And also, if don't have expectations of others, have expectations of yourself on showing up, giving out referrals, hyping people up, and building strong connections, because that's going to take you so much further than just trying to sell someone, your services or your packages. So really and also practice. You can never practice enough. Role play with others, record yourself. Those first couple times, I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to struggle. You're going to trip over yourself, but that's part of the game, right? That's how you get better. That's how you train those muscles. And then also, reach out to people that are good referral partners for you, maybe compliment you, maybe some people that are in the same industry or have the same niches as you. And just show up and be present. And also branded apparel, branded swag, even as simple as things like name tags with your logo on it can go a long way. But I encourage you guys to get out there, try it for yourself. And I'll see you guys at the next networking event, especially Mad Media's event. Hers are awesome. And also, I think someone was asking about other photographers, and he doesn't have a local group or no one's really doing that. Create one, set one up. It's as easy as that. Yep, that one.
Yeah, that was
doesn't
Robert.
hurt to set up a local, like I think here in San Antonio, there's a lot of, I forget the name. It's like photography walks where they just get together and they're all photographers that love taking photos and love creating together. Build some great connections.
That's very true. And now, Robert, it is easier in a big small town like San Antonio, where there's 2.5 million people in the area, to do this kind of thing. When you're in a smaller community, and maybe you don't feel like there's a lot of camaraderie, it doesn't mean that there isn't. It could mean, though, that it just hasn't been discovered yet. And so putting something together, and in a short period of time, it's kind of hard to describe how to do that kind of thing. I'd be happy, Robert, if you wanted to reach out to talk about that, and you're welcome to bounce some ideas off of me. So yeah, feel free.
And being
to
the host is very prestigious.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, um, Nate, I said it before. Nate is somebody you guys want to know. He's someone who's going to, with his words and his spirit, just put his arm around you and say, I care about you. I want you to succeed. I gain happiness. I gain fulfillment when you grow and become better than you are today, to become the person you want to be. That's Nate. He wants that for
If you win,
you,
I
and
win.
he's happy to help. What's that?
If you win, I win.
There you go. Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm going to bring Madeline back on and thank both of you at the same time. So let's bring her back. Let's see. Madeline.
Hello.
You're probably are you dealing with a client that needs some attention?
It's all good now.
Yay. Well, you guys are awesome. You've purposefully given of your time, and you do this all the time. This is not something that is a one-time event. I've not asked you to step out of your comfort zone for once in a lifetime, getting up in front of people and sharing your love for the community and how you want everyone to grow and become better. This is just your natural state. And so thank you so much for being that kind of person. Thank you for saying yes when I reached out, saying, can you be on the show? Can you be one of the many people who loves uplifting others? Thank you for being who you are. More power to you. You don't need me to help energize you, because that comes from within. And I certainly admire the both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course, you guys rock. You guys reach out to Nate and to Madeline, and do me a favor. Tell them thank you. Just go over to the comments section real quick. Say thanks for being here. And if you haven't already, enter in #live. Tell me you're watching live. You guys rock. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Madeline.
Thank you.
Later.
So, man, what an incredible discussion. Both of our guests brought such valuable perspectives on how they support and they strengthen the environment and strengthen the community. One of the things I love most about the photography business community is discovering connections, how different professionals and services come together to help photographers succeed. Today's panel, it exemplified that interconnected nature of our industry. We've heard unique insights about their roles, their philosophies, their visions for supporting photographers and others. And I hope that this discussion today has opened your eyes to the network of professionals working to help you and help your business thrive. And perhaps even giving you some new perspectives on making the most of these valuable partnerships. I want to thank both of our amazing panelists today for sharing their time and their insights. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you. If you haven't already, please show your appreciation for them, for their gift of time, by clicking the like button, clicking the love button, because it's wonderful people like Madeline and Nate who uplift the community. And we want to encourage them to continue to do so. Man, your insights are going to help so many photographers. Thank you for that. You guys remember, you don't have to do all this stuff at once. You can't do all of it at once. They mentioned a lot of things. So just pick one or two things that resonated with you and start there. Sometimes these small changes make a huge impact. Now, if you could use a little help, feel free to reach out to any of the three of us. You can reach out to me, Jim, at landersphotoschool.com. You can take advantage of my free business assessment where I can help you. You can share your thoughts, and I can help you with your goals or plan a path to reach your goals. Let me put that address up one more time. I mentioned it earlier, but this is the address, and it's free. I don't charge anything for this. It's only 15 minutes, but hey, It's free. If you want to do more stuff, well, then I'll charge for it. But for a lot of people, you just need a conversation with someone every once in a while to share your thoughts, to share your goals, and help someone see what you're dealing with from a bird's eye point of view to help you along the path that you really feel like you need to be on. As you know, you get the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. So I wanted to talk to you about what is coming. So coming up next week, 1 week from today, that is, uh, I want to change how that looks. There we go. 1 week from today, that is Monday, March 17th. The show is called "Why the Future of Photography and Life is Brighter Than You Think." You help your clients to see their beauty. That is something that a photographer just does. But are you seeing the world through that same lens? Are you doing that for yourself or only for others? Now, if you think things are getting worse, your brain is tricking you. The truth is that opportunities for photographers have never been better. You've got more tools at your disposal today than any photographer before you has ever had. This isn't just a lesson. Next week, the topic is going to be a movement. Reframe your view, shape the world. When you get next week's handout, now for the panels, I don't have handouts, but for every other show, I have a handout. When you get the handout for next week's show, you're also going to get my 30-day positivity challenge for portrait photographers. It's something small to do every single day for the next 30 days. That's coming up 1 week from today. And then 1 week after that is something that is kind of fun. Now, this one might be a little tougher, but you're going to see why this is valuable. March 24th at noon, how to build your response playbook. Now, first, not everybody knows what a response playbook is, but you're going to discover what a response playbook is and how to create one. It's your secret weapon for handling every client situation with confidence, from pricing objections to last minute changes. I'm revealing the exact scripts, the words to use that turn awkward moments into wins. This isn't just about the words you use, it's about growing your business through masterful communication. And then to round out the month of March, on March 31st at noon, this one is different because I'm going to interview someone. This one is called The Blueprint to Bookings. Plan your website in 24 hours using AI. And I probably should change out the image. There we go. Are you ready for a productive website that brings in ideal clients? You know, the kind of clients that you want to work with, not the ones that drain your creative energy, the ones that you want to work with, the ones that are happy to pay your price. Well, in this episode of the Portrait Profit Show, I'll be interviewing website expert and author Andrew Martinez, who reveals how portrait photographers can create a complete website blueprint in just 24 hours using AI. No tech skills required. Whether you're planning your first site or you're refreshing an existing one, this will help your photography business stand out online. I hope you have taken a moment to add these free lessons to your calendar. As you know, I don't charge for the Portrait Profit Show. It's sponsored by, and I'll put up this real quick, Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. That's why it's free to you. All we ask is that you share and that you show up. That's it. But right at the end of the month, Blueprint to Bookings. Plan your website in 24 hours. As we bring today's discussion about networking and alliances to a close, I want to express my sincere gratitude once again to both of our panelists for sharing their invaluable insights and personal experiences. Madeline and Nate are wonderful people you should know, people who are going to make you feel good about yourself. Portrait photographers, you know this. But you're not just creating beautiful, wonderful images. You're building connections that amplify your impact and sustain your business. The relationships you cultivate today become the foundation of your success tomorrow. Every conversation, every partnership, every authentic interaction has the potential to transform your business in ways your camera skills alone will never do. The strength of our industry lies not just in our individual talents, but in how we support and elevate each other. So as I leave you today, I encourage you to take that first step that our panelists suggested. Reach out, make that connection, propose that alliance. Remember that behind every successful portrait business is a network of relationships built on mutual value and genuine care. So let's commit to building not just portfolios, but communities, creating success stories that are richer and more sustainable because they're woven together with the threads of meaningful connections. Thanks again, Madeline and Nate, for your generous contributions of thought, advice, and time. And thank you, Lens Legends, for your time and attention here today. I encourage you to join me for our next live stream 1 week from today at noon. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, my name is Jim Landers, and I bring you the weekly Portrait Profit Show. Until next time, Lens Legends, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep making your mark on the world. You are awesome, and you know it. I look forward to watching you grow. Bye for now.